Congratulations on the show. Excited to have you in this incredible primetime lineup, and no pressure, but you're the leadoff hitter.
Yeah, that's right, no pressure. But congratulations as well to your show. It's doing very well. Lots of good word about that. I'm a fan myself. I never miss an episode, actually.
Thank you.
And I want to just start big picture here, because there's so much panic and concern about corruption being revealed to the American people. But I don't see that same concern among Democrats for the corruption itself. But all of this stuff, it hurts them just as much as anybody else, presumably. So what do you make of that?
Well, the spending that has driven inflation is hurting Republicans and Democrats and independents and apolitical people altogether. And that spending doesn't just go into a black hole. It runs through some of these agencies that give grants out based on their politics or even some of their friendships. And that is corrupt. It happens in Republican and Democrat administrations, and Donald Trump and Elon Musk are set to fix it. And I love nothing more than the image of Maxine Waters and Jamie Raskin out hugging these federal buildings in Washington that are so disconnected from the lives of Americans.
Absolutely. Well, I think in that case, what it really shows, and this is just deeply disturbing to me for so many reasons, but you have to wonder, is there loyalty to the American people or to the state itself?
Well, it's a great question, and I think that there's a belief among Democrats that they don't really know what to grab onto in today's politics. They called Donald Trump a Russian agent. That failed. They said that he was a tyrant and a threat to democracy. That didn't work. Tried to throw him in prison. All these things haven't worked, and they are a movement that is diminishing in its political force. And the last bastion, the strongest area for the Democrat support, are federal workers who don't want to have to justify their jobs. And it's quite a corner I think we've worked them into.
Absolutely. So moving forward, next steps, there's a lot of pushback on the Trump administration, including from some federal judges who are upset about funding or spending freezes. I'd like to get your take on the significance of that, and if you think that we can still find ways to get around that and get the job done here.
Today, America lives under the tyranny of the temporary injunction that one judge in Massachusetts or Maryland or New Mexico can issue that then has nationwide authority. Donald Trump was elected to be the president of the whole country. These individual federal judges should not be able to remake the law in the absence of some involvement by the public through elections. And so I think that the Congress needs to really look at its power of impeachment when judges issue these nationwide injunctions that go far beyond their call under Article 3.
Okay, very interesting. So moving to FEMA for a second, I think that there may be some fallout to report. There's talks that some of those employees who okayed this $59 million in spending for illegals, they might be fired. I'd like to get your take on that whole situation. I mean, are you surprised to hear about that?
I think it is swamp draining with a front row seat to see the chief financial officer of FEMA terminated following FEMA sending all of this money to house illegals in New York. It was the plot of the fictional drama House of Cards that a corrupt president would drain FEMA and use it for other spending priorities. And then I think the Biden administration watched House of Cards too much and tried to make that happen. And now, fortunately, we've got some accountability. And people have been waiting for that. It's one thing to expose the corruption, but then to hold the individuals accountable who facilitated that corruption is the deterrent to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Completely agreed. If there's no accountability, it'll just keep happening over and over again. And that's what's been happening. I think part of this conversation is that the American people have let this government become so rogue. And at this point, I'm wondering just how widespread the corruption really goes. So I'd like to turn that over to you.
Well, in our lifetime, have we ever seen such a snapback to the growth and excess of government than we've seen articulated in the Trump administration, aligned with some of the talent that Elon has brought through DOGE? I actually feel invigorated that we might fight back against the Death Star and prevail a little bit in some of these matters. But there are things that still trouble us when members of Congress are trading individual stock, when they stay in office for 20, 30, 40 years. At times, they become more about that very system we're fighting against than the constituents they're supposed to serve.
I think that's the crux of the problem is when you're the people who are supposed to be representing you only seek out self-preservation of the state. It's like it's a complete misalignment of the mission. It's like they've forgotten who they work for, who elected them into power, and what they're really supposed to be fighting for. So I think we have this big reckoning right now between the American people, patriots, and the pro-establishment tyrants who are happy to personally profit off of the destruction of this country.